Hi everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on effective data observability with audit, balance and control framework. So in today's webinar, we'll discuss about how ABC framework helps data teams navigate their data ecosystem complexities by providing seamless and reliable data delivery for analytical ecosystems. Here is our agenda for the webinar today. We will start with talking about what is actually the audit balance control framework is. Followed by that, we'll do some deep dive into what is audit, balance and control in details. We'll also cover the overall ABC solution for data observability. And finally, we'll be talking about how do you implement ABC in your organization. We'll keep some time for question and answer at the end of the session. So let's talk about what audit, balance and control framework is. When you look at a typical analytical data ecosystem, data from multiple sources are landed to a landing area, and we may use different tools in this process. We may use a replication tool, we may use some JDBC connections, we may use some API calls, different ways we can load data from data sources to the landing area. From there, you may use some kind of ETL processes to kind of process the data in the way it is required by your consumption layer to land into the target area. So this within any analytical ecosystem, every day there'll be a lot of jobs that will be running in different frequency, which will bring in data from all these sources and processing the data, and that's being consumed by the business to kind of take a right decisions to grow their business, right? So though it looks very nice in the picture, but in reality, we have seen a lot of issues, whether it's due to your underlying data quality not being proper, or it may be because your data that's being delivered from your data sources is not reliable, is not coming on time, your volumes of your data is not consistent, there's pipeline broken because of different reasons that may occur from source or within your data lifecycle. So all of these issues typically prevents business to take the right and effective business decisions, right? So audit, balance and control framework along with data observability kind of gives you the end-to-end traceability, reconciliation of your all the jobs that's happening, and also kind of eventually giving the ability to control your processes so that whatever has gone wrong, you can correct that effectively without impacting your business. When we talk about some of the common pain points that we have seen across different industries is typically the lack of end-to-end visibility of your data system. So with the evolution of cloud, hybrid or discrete ecosystems today, there is a lot of data that has been produced by different sources within organizations today. So every organization wants to make use of their data to give their business an opportunity to take right decisions, to enhance and to grow their business, right? But in reality, because of all these data quality issues, really the businesses are not really able to make advantage of the data, the power of data that they have within their organization. There are different tools that are used in this data ecosystem, be it your ingestion layer, transformation layer, orchestration, or data warehouses, or your consumption layer. So all these tools will have their siloed monitoring, and each of these monitoring also produces their own alerts and notifications, right? And all of this eventually leads to alert fatigue. You are at loss which alert to be prioritized, what to be fixed, what to be ignored. Without having a lack of visibility into your end-to-end ecosystem, puts tremendous pressure on the data teams. Any kind of issues that business encounters in day-to-day basis, it puts tremendous loads on the data teams to resolve those issues. And because these issues are of different categories, different nature, it takes huge amount of time for data teams to manually troubleshoot and resolve these issues. which eventually puts a lot of operational overhead on the data teams. Now, given so many pain points, we want to discuss today how ABC framework with data observability can help in this journey. How data teams can really get benefit by using ABC framework. So typically the ABC framework increases the effectiveness of the analytical system's ability to produce right data at the right time. It makes sure that you have the right data quality, you have the visibility of the end-to-end lineage from source down to your consumption layer, so that you are able to detect issues before it impacts business. You are able to help the data teams resolve issues faster, so that your mean time to resolve really comes down drastically. And also it gives you all the ways to control whatever is not going right, so that you're able to optimize the end-to-end operations very effectively. Now, why it is important in today's scenario? Because we have seen more and more data is being used by different organizations for different their AI initiatives, their Gen AI initiatives, their reports and dashboards, different applications that are reliant on data. For all of these initiatives to be successful and to help business take right decisions based on these data products, it is very important that you have a very right data strategy in place, and which can really be backed by ABC framework with data observability. The overall ABC framework can help you to make sure that you have the reliable business reports and dashboards that business can rely on. Your data products are reliable enough, and you have your data teams are able to provide or meet the SLAs that business is expecting, and all your compliance reports that you are producing are accurate as needed by your business. So with this understanding, let's look at a bit more details into what exactly is audit, right? Now, how do you basically carry out some of this audit operations so that you can help your organizations build the right data strategy, build a right data monitoring strategy, right? Audit is actually nothing but its ability to automate the discovery of your end-to-end data systems. Different jobs and pipelines are executed in your data systems every day. So the success of your audit would start with how do you capture all the jobs at different stages into a single place, so that you have a common visibility of all the jobs, when it started, when it ended, how much time it took, and what is typically the status, right? Automating all of it using some kind of metrics like job status, job execution time, delay between subsequent jobs really helps you to achieve this in a very efficient way. So not only jobs, right? When we're talking about jobs, what it is actually doing, right? All the jobs that are running within your data ecosystem, they are typically moving a lot of data from your sources. Then they are processing data within different data tables in different systems. Data is flowing through different systems within your data ecosystem, and finally is being consumed by your consumption layer, right? So it is very important that you are able to correlate your jobs down to your tables and views, which are basically in which your data is being processed, right? So again, automating the correlation of your jobs to the underlying tables and views is very important. Correlation can be sometimes easier when you are using ETL tools, because ETL tool metadata typically would give you this information that I have a customer data movement job that's working on so and so underlying source and target and intermediate tables. But there are many cases where we have seen data teams use Python scripts running within your Spark engine to do different ETL operations. In such cases, it may not be as simple as correlating your jobs to your tables and views. You may have to write some parser to kind of get to that details. In many cases, we may also be able to get this information from the query logs that your jobs are eventually running. And net, it is once you discover what all jobs are running within your organization, the next step is that you should also audit all the relationship between your jobs and the tables. And finally, most important thing is that you also audit all the traceability of your data, which means that all the data movement that's happening by your jobs, you should track all of that. How many rows are processed by what jobs at what interval? All of this information should be audited. And all of this should be automated so that you are not relying on any manual activity in your audit process. Once you are able to audit all the information like we have discussed in the last slide, the next step is your balance. So the balance is nothing but deep monitoring and validation of each and every jobs that's running within your organization and making sure that they are running as expected with the right kind of performance in place. So what we would typically do as part of balance is checks and jumps, right? We would like to check if your jobs are moving data as expected. We would like to check all the validations that are supposed to be there in place, whether your jobs are moving data in a right way. It's not about only moving data from source to target. It should also make sure that all your intermediate layers where your data moves from landing to staging or staging to some next layer, from there it may move to your target layer, right? So if let's say you process 100 rows from your source and 10 rows goes missing in between, when it reaches target, you should be able to find out what went wrong where. So that's why the balance is so important, so that you should be able to check and sums at every stage in your data movement lifecycle for all the jobs, for all its executions. Any kind of errors, we should be able to automate that, okay, what is going wrong, what rules failed, and why something failed. Source and target reconciliation is very important. Having said that, it's not only source and target reconciliation, but you should be able to do a reconciliation of all the intermediate layers so that you get complete visibility of what's wrong, what's not going right in your intermediate data layers as well. Like I have stressed in the audit section also, it is very important that we configure the right balance checks in place, and we should automate this process so that you don't need a human intervention in this whole process. Finally comes the control. Now that you understand from your balances that what is right, what is wrong, which jobs are not going as expected, next your task would be to make sure that you control them, right? You should have a complete control over what is going right and what is going wrong, and so that you're able to optimize end-to-end operations of your data systems. So there are different ways that you can control. The very basic and simple thing that you should start with is applying a notification kind of a framework, so that at any moment of time you see any kind of issues, you notify the right audience with the right information, right? So it may be as simple as my job is not running, you detect it automatically and notify your required data teams by Slack notification. It may even go deeper. Your job may be running fine, but you are probably the data volume that's flowing through your data tables are not expected or not as usual, or you may have issues like your pipeline has broken down because of some schema validation. Any kind of issues that happens, you should be able to notify. Automated alert, and in many cases, if you have an ITSM integration to a organization-wide ITSM tool like of ServiceNow, that's even more helpful for you. Along with the notification, you should also give options to do root cause analysis, which kind of gives you an ability to quickly resolve issues. You should use the power of lineage, which eventually your data audit balance and control framework can very easily provide, so that you can get to the root of the issue faster and also you can understand the impact of your downstream systems when you have a data problem. Restartability is very important when it comes to your data systems. You may have a group of jobs running within your data ecosystem, but you may not want to execute all your jobs again in case of any failure. You may have job A, B, C dependent on C, and let's say some of these jobs failed in between. Whatever already successfully executed, you may not want to execute them together. So it's very important that you have a very automated restartability process in place so that you are able to control and optimize your end-to-end operations. Making sure that your jobs are scheduled and running as expected is very important. Any kind of scheduling errors should be um, controlled and notified so that you can take the corrective actions. So now that we have a good understanding of what is audit, what is balance, and what is control all about, let's look at how this all audit, balance, and control thing comes together when it comes to a data system. So, like I have explained, there will be numerous amounts of jobs that will be running on your data system end to end. And these jobs will be working on different tables, different rows will be processed by your data system. Now, the first step of using your audit balance control framework within your data system is that you have to collect a few metadata. Metadata about your jobs. You may have multiple jobs running, but they may be related to each other. For example, in this case, I have shown that you have a customer 360 job group. So you may have, for example, 5 to 6 different jobs that are running, that are getting data from different source systems for your customer data. In that case, you may want to create a customer 360 group, and within that, and this group will be a logical group. Within this logical group, you may want to group all your jobs together. When you are grouping the jobs, you also would like to see, okay, what are the different tasks that are processing within your jobs. And all these things should ideally be automated. You should automate discovery of all your jobs, and finally you leave it to someone who knows about the domain to group them together so that you can report about any issues of the jobs as a group, which would make more sense to data teams as well as to business. Once you discover the jobs, the next step is to discover the tables that are associated with the jobs. And finally, all this information should lead you to a lineage information through which you'll be able to say how is your source down to landing to your pre-stage, stage, target, and consumption layers are related in terms of data assets. Once you have this information in place, you are good to go. Then typically you would be integrating your ABC monitoring system into your data ecosystem. And once you integrate, it should automatically start giving you all the runtime information of your jobs. As you can see here, for the customer data movement jobs, I have started getting, for this job, I can see the job is being executed twice. The execution status is pass, and you can see all the start time, end time, execution time. Parallelly, you should also be capturing the volumes, the rows processed by these jobs in the underlying tables. As you can see the picture here, which combines your job to the underlying rows being processed. So this particular execution of a job processed 100 rows from the source, but finally when it landed in the pre-stage area, because of some validation error, only 90 rows were landed, and finally those 90 rows were carried forward to your target. So it's very important that you also monitor the intermediate layers so that you can know that when the row drop happened. And also you should have a data quality rules in place so that you can relate the drop in data rows to your data quality rules, so that you can easily know the root cause of why the rows were dropped. So if you look at this end-to-end picture, this gives you a complete visibility of your data ecosystem. What jobs are running, how your jobs are related to each other, and how the jobs are processing data. In case of any issues, you can always go back to the reports that are generated by this ABC solution so that you can, in a minute's time, you can tell what is the issue, where the issue lies, and how to solve the issue. ABC framework with all the data quality, data observability monitors in place gives you complete deep end-to-end monitoring. Now that you have an understanding of what is audit balance and control framework and how the audit balance and control part comes together to help your organizations manage their data effectively, let's talk about how you can utilize this ABC framework within your organization. The first step of using an ABC framework within your organization will be to have a complete understanding of your end-to-end data ecosystem. What are the different tools, processes, types of jobs that are being used within your organization? You should have an understanding of that. What is the expectation of your business stakeholders from your data teams, from your data systems? Once you have a very clear understanding of all of this, the next step comes as you have to choose something that is helping you to kind of come up with this ABC framework in a very automated way. You may always build a tool of your own, or you may want to choose something that's already available for you to use it from. Here at Rakuten Data Observability, which we typically call as Rakuten SixthSense Data Observability, we have a very comprehensive ABC framework that can help any data teams to integrate any tools into our ecosystem so that you get a very comprehensive view, very comprehensive control of your end-to-end data ecosystem. You may also build one. The criteria for your building or using any ABC framework should be that it should be very generic so that you can integrate any tool of your choice, any processes of your choice into this ABC framework. It should have an ability to automatically discover all your metadata not only during the design time but runtime execution of your jobs, correlation between your jobs to your underlying data assets, and finally the syncing up of all the rows, all the data volume that's processed by your jobs. All of this should be automatically discovered by your ABC framework. And finally, the tool should give you a very comprehensive report by looking at which even your business can get to understand what is the quality of your data, what is more fresh in terms of data, why a certain dashboard is not reflecting the correct insight without always depending on your data teams. Of course, ABC framework should give a very good handle to data teams to manage their data effectively, and which can give them the ability to provide reliable and solid data for business growth. Thank you for listening to us in the webinar today. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you have on data observability. Thank you.